The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is sweeping the world right now when it comes to popularity, discussion, footage, videos, and so much more. And today we're going to be talking about a follow-up to a video that I did recently on the channel, talking about how The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom $70 DLC people look silly or look bad at this point, because I wanted to discuss it because in that video a lot of you guys responded a little bit differently than what I had to say. And also recently on the Spawncast, myself and RGT, we disagreed if people should have already known Tears of the Kingdom would be great based on the pedigree of its predecessor when a donation message came in through. Now, people were arguing, people in my chat, a lot of my viewers, in addition to RGT as well, were all arguing that, well, wait a minute, we don't know. They didn't show us enough. Like, it's their fault. So a lot of the Tears of the Kingdom haters, skeptics, backtrackers, they're kind of blaming, not even kind of, they are blaming Nintendo. They're the reasons why that we thought that this game wasn't going to have much or wasn't going to be very good. So it's not really on us, it's on them. And I think that that is a very interesting point when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, when it comes to discussion of all of it. And I think I can break it down to the best of my ability. Now, for the sake of the viewers, I don't want to necessarily include exactly what was said so people can go there and try to argue back and forth. We can all just discuss this peacefully in the comment section. And also shout outs to RGT. He's awesome, man. He has great videos on this topic and stuff like that. So I appreciate all of you guys when it comes to opinions that agree or disagree with what I've got to say. But let's go ahead and break it down exactly here. Should we have assumed Tears of the Kingdom was going to have as much new content and look as good as it did over The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? And were people wrong for being highly skeptical of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, despite this being a sequel to an award-winning, industry-defining game with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, one of the highest rated games of all time? Now, I think that the answer is subjective, right? It can be subjective. There is like the truth, and then there's kind of like opinion, and there's like somewhere in between. It's kind of all over the place, but I'll do my best to look at this from historical and also logical viewpoints. So make sure you tune in all the way through, because we got a lot of truth bombs to drop here. Now, the truth is gamers have a right to be skeptical or excited for whatever they want. The industry is built on that. People love the hype. However, people also have the right to voice their opinion on reasoning that gamers say certain things. And I think that's where this conversation lands. Many gamers who were very harsh and skeptical about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom also get excited for games that haven't shown much footage or are simply made by developers they like a lot. It's a very common practice to do this in gaming. I mean, everybody does this when it comes to hype, anticipation, and maybe the game ends up turning out good, or maybe the game ends up turning out bad, like Balan Wonderworld, for example, you know? But some people were hyped for that beforehand, but that's not the point. The point is that people discuss and get hyped about games and the pedigree that the game, in terms of the developers and what it's built off of, can build or can deflate that hype beforehand. Now, why do people get hyped for big Nintendo first-party releases? Well, because Nintendo has a history of making great first-party releases. Same goes for Sony and Microsoft as well with their games. People got hyped and proclaimed that Super Mario Odyssey would be amazing before we even knew the official name of the game when they showed it off at the 2016 Nintendo Switch reveal. They just saw a big new Mario game, was like, all right, I'm hyped, I'm ready, this is gonna be good, because Mario has an incredible track record with mainline big Mario games. Now, direct sequels, in particular, fans already have a built-up expectation of quality, and the quality of that developer in question always plays a factor in how good the game will ultimately end up being. Now, with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, we know Nintendo has an incredible track record with mainline console Zelda games. Now, this is dating all the way back to really the NES, but I guess we can start with the Metacritic ranking age, so the N64. No mainline home console Zelda release has ever scored under a 90 average, and I actually think it's a bit higher than that. I think it's like nothing less than like a 93 or so. I think Skyward Sword was the lowest, but don't 100% quote me, but I'll have it all up on here on screen for you guys, so don't worry. Now, so I think that millions of gamers were right to assume based off of this, that Tears of the Kingdom would be a fantastic game, despite not seeing a large amount of gameplay or having Nintendo spoil the game for them or footage or whatever the case is, leading up to these most recent announcements of it. A lot of the time, when you have an all-time great game that reviews and does well, the direct sequel is much better because the devs take what the fans love and the base of the first game and then just dramatically improve that. Now, this isn't always foolproof with direct sequels. We've seen it kind of fail sometimes before, but usually we have big games like Mass Effect 2, for example, Uncharted 2, Batman Arkham City, Gears of War 2, Majora's Mask, countless other direct sequels to all-time greats that often exceed expectations or are just really good games, are fantastic games that end up living up when it comes to the ratings or even sales or whatever the case is. So I think that it was fair to assume that yes, Tears of the Kingdom as a direct sequel could be like many of the other direct sequels to the more modern games or even old school games like Mega Man 2 or Mega Man X2 or various other direct sequels that we've gotten to certain titles within a franchise. Now, I do think it is a bit silly to assume that the Zelda team, with the help of Monolith Soft, remember, the main Zelda team, all of the hundreds of people that crafted and created the innovative mechanics of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, along with Monolith Soft, who also did help out on that game and have helped out on multiple Zelda games, along with them building Tears of the Kingdom, building off of that incredible base of Breath of the Wild with the engine and the physics, 6+ years wouldn't add incredible new features to the game to be at least as good or as impressive as Breath of the Wild, if not even better. I find that hard to believe that that wouldn't be the case here. Now, on top of that, Mr. Aonuma stated multiple times before the recent trailer number 3 that they are adding many new elements and changing up a number of things.
しましたが、拡張された世界はそれだけではなく、そこで皆さんを待ち受ける新たな出会いや新たな遊びも、そこで皆さんを待ち受ける新たな出会いや新たな遊びも、前作以上に多彩なものとなっています。前作以上に多彩なものとなっています。そうした続編での体験を特別なものにするべく、開発チーム一同、引き続き総力を挙げて取り組んでいきますので、どうか今しばらく。
Like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, there's a vast world to explore. Of course, it's not just the same world as is. It's changed in many ways. If we talk about all of the changes today, we'll run out of time, so we hope you'll seek them out for yourself when the game launches.
I do think that it is silly to not take that at face value, especially considering it's Zelda, one of Nintendo's highest quality products historically. Now, you don't always have to like every game that they put out, but you can't deny historically and also reviews-wise, generally looked at, overall, people see all of the mainline home console Zelda games as quality products. Now, don't get me wrong, we shouldn't blindly believe everything Nintendo says, nor are they perfect or always release the best thing for each game or the best practices. Heck, we saw this in full force. Mario Strikers, Battle League, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet debacles prove that. But when it comes to Zelda, we should absolutely believe Mr. Aonuma based on his track record and the track record of the Zelda franchise when it comes to big home console releases. I think people who are haters or skeptics also failed to acknowledge the art book leak because they were already strong on one side in terms of how they felt, and nothing was going to change it until maybe something was put right in front of their face when it comes to Nintendo talking about it directly. But the art book leak absolutely showed many new aspects of the game to assure people there would be a lot of new and exciting content, yet many of these same people beforehand who were hating skeptical brushed it off. They ignored it despite looking at it, ignored it and said, well, nope, that's not enough. And I had many of you guys tell me that in the comment section when I made a video hyping up, oh my gosh, there was like a leak. I saw, I'm not going to show you guys anything, but there is a lot of new aspects to this game. A lot of you guys said, no, I looked at it. No, there isn't. So that was absolutely something to where people just brushed it off because they already felt one way about it and nothing was going to change their mind, despite Nintendo coming out and showing you that directly, even though it was a full art book leak and supposedly these people did also look at it. Now, I do think that even if you look at the trailers that Nintendo did before, back at E3 2021 and also 2022, what they did originally in 2019, even before the art book leak, even before the gameplay presentation, even before the trailer number 3, those trailers did show off a lot of new features and show that they were taking this game to the next level with new ideas. That's why I was hyped about it even before all of this extra stuff that we got recently. Another huge aspect of this is the fact that people are backtracking and blaming Nintendo. Now, we talked about that just a little bit because of the lack of advertising, and that's why they didn't know. And while I can completely understand that at a base level, 100% understand that viewpoint, it doesn't really hold much water with this game in particular and what Nintendo has done. They showed multiple new elements, but didn't want to have spoilers well beforehand. I personally think the trailers we got in 2021 and 2022 were more than enough, factually broken down by various Zelda content creators. This game has a lot of new content even in those trailers. The huge stone bird, the crazy sky islands, the multiple new powers, the various enemies that were all shown before the gameplay presentation and official trailer number 3. Now, some people simply wanted to ignore the information right in front of them, then lay the blame on Nintendo because they didn't show you everything a year ago or something like that. Once again, I understand, but it was clear that this game was going to be packed with new features and a beefed up story from pretty much 2 years ago at this point, after they showed off a number of those things and more of the setup for the story. People are allowed to be skeptical, you're allowed to think what you want to think, but I think that saying that this game was going to end up being a disappointment or was going to end up not being very good based off of other stuff like Mario Strikers or based off of other smaller Zelda games or based off of different franchises that don't have the pedigree when it comes to main Zelda games is a bit misguided. It doesn't tell the whole story and it doesn't really relate to what Nintendo does with The Legend of Zelda. And heck, even if you look at home consoles that have direct sequels, I mean, Nintendo's only ever done that for the most part with a direct story link. I mean, you can say The Legend of Zelda to Zelda 2 Adventures of Link, maybe, or you can say probably a better example is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Now, some people at the time were like, Majora's Mask isn't very good, but ultimately it was reviewed incredibly well, not as high as Ocarina of Time, but it still has a 95 average and is seen as an incredible game. So overall, I think it's an interesting discussion to have. I understand where some people are coming from. I just wanted to explain why historically, and if you look at everything that was shown and said so far, this was already shaping up to be an incredible experience even before we got that. And I do think, yes, it is a bit silly to say that this game was going to be bad or was not going to really shape up or it was going to be $70 DLC. I think it was a bit silly to say all that beforehand, especially based on the information that we did have, and these things were still being said even after 2021 and even into 2023, these things were being said. So I do think that it's a bit silly for all of that, and I explain my reasoning here. However, you guys have your opinion, so you can let me know in the comment section below, and make sure you check out my previous Legend of Zelda content on the channel, where I recently discussed why some really angry, crazy Xbox gamers are taking out their frustration on Tears of the Kingdom, and also why Tears of the Kingdom is actually badly beating other big AAA games in certain markets. It's all right here on screen for you to check out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace.